Welcome back to Paul's Tech News. The state of California was a blazing inferno this week, not due to record heat waves or now seasonal wildfires, though those are both gaining intensity as the summer progresses, but because of the heated competition embodied within dual events held by the biggest computer hardware companies in the world, AMD and Nvidia. Nvidia held forth at Siggraph 2026 in Los Angeles, while AMD hosted their own Advancing AI event in San Francisco, forcing vendors, media, and industry partners to choose one or the other lest they be blacklisted forever. In years past, dueling events like this would result in numerous consumer product announcements and upcoming launch teases as each company tried to outshine the other, but this is 2026, so it can be quickly summed up as an AI-fueled circle jerk about AI, catering mainly to tech bros and data center zealots, and consumers were left to sift through the leavings if they wanted to find anything related to personal computers or gaming. I'll attempt to suspend cynicism to share what AMD's Zen 6 announcements might mean for future Ryzen launches, and there was even a DLSS 5 presentation from Nvidia too, because they do still discuss consumer gaming features, as long as it's AI powered, of course. And you know what's not AI powered? The tech news.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by Lexar NM790 NVMe SSDs, providing lightning-fast storage for the latest generation of gaming and workstation PCs. Featuring a high-bandwidth PCIe Gen 4x4 interface, broad compatibility thanks to the M.2 2280 form factor, and capacities from 512 GB up to 8 TB, the NM790 makes no compromises, and is conveniently available with or without an integrated heatsink. Enjoy peak performance with sequential read speeds up to 7,400 MB per second and write speeds up to 6,500 MB per second, as well as PlayStation 5 compatibility with the heatsink-enabled model and a solid 5-year manufacturer warranty. For more on Lexar NM790 NVMe SSDs, click the sponsor link in the video description. Let's start with AMD, and to be clear, I did not expect an event called Advancing AI to contain much about consumer Radeon GPUs or Ryzen CPUs, but as I mentioned last week, it is disheartening that after 5+ iterations of AMD's Zen architecture debuting with consumer desktop parts first, with enterprise versions coming 2 to 5 months later, we're now seeing an enterprise Zen 6 launch first with consumer parts delayed 2 to 5 months, if we're lucky and those early 2027 Ryzen 10,000 launch rumors hold up. And if AMD's excuse is why would they initiate another launch cycle with DDR5 prices being what they are, one's response should be to ask AMD why DDR5 prices are so high. It's because of all the work they and Nvidia have done advancing AI at the expense of everything else. I mean, they built a skyscraper with EPYC CPUs. You'd think at least a few of them could have been Ryzen instead. Oh, hold up. Portions of this video were created using AI. I guess I should have assumed as much. But let's tick off some details of what was announced. There are 4 separate EPYC product lines coming, the first being the EPYC 9006 series for socket SP7, available in Q4. This will include the EPYC 9996, the 256-core flagship that has been heavily rumored, now confirmed to have 1,024 megabytes of L3 cache, a 600-watt TDP, 128 PCIe Gen 6 lanes, and 8-channel DDR5 support, 16-channel in a dual CPU configuration. Some asked last week how the math works out with a 256-core CPU and a 12 cores per CCX Zen 6 solution. The answer is that these extremely high core count CPUs use Zen 6C, a denser design with 16 cores per CCX and 32 per CCD, and the 256-core EPYC 9996 has 8 CCDs. You can see them in this picture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The other 3 EPYC versions will be EPYC 9006 for socket SP8, coming in 2027, EPYC 9006X for SP7, which is codenamed Venice X, and will be accelerated by larger CPU caches, so 3D V-cache with Zen 6 confirmed, and EPYC 9006LP Verano processors, which have LPDDR memory support. There's a lot more in the articles I've linked in the description if you'd like to read up, but for consumers, the takeaways are that Zen 6 is confirmed, yay. Clock speed should still be well over 5 GHz, as Venice X will get up to 5.15 GHz per AMD, and the push for bigger cache sizes will likely have some trickle down as well. Probably not a gig or more of cache per socket, but if Ryzen 10,000 X3D CPUs carry over the core to cache ratio from Venice X, it could mean a 12-core single-die CPU with 192 megabytes of cache. Oh, and Zen 7 Florence is now on the roadmap for 2028, and Zen 8 Ravenna is planned for 2030. Moving over to the Nvidia presentation at Siggraph, where they did a 1-hour keynote with a Jensen who may or may not have been AI generated. It's tough to tell these days. But here I'm going to skip all the AI fluff and just talk about the DLSS 5 demo that they showed. DLSS 5 was first shown back in March at GTC, and it was harshly criticized as a low-effort AI slop filter that took two RTX 5090s to demo and had dismal implications for future game design. Nvidia, perhaps in response to this, showed a demo that was a bit more nuanced at Siggraph, better demonstrating how game designers might use this technology to enhance games rather than simply yassifying them. The focus is now to use DLSS 5 to improve materials, shadows, reflections, and other visual details, leaving artistic elements like facial features, scars, or costumes more or less intact. Developers will be able to choose from multiple models trained with different parameters to find the solution that works best for their artistic vision, and the demo showed separate controls for structure intensity, affecting things like ambient occlusion, reflections, and subsurface scattering, and tone intensity that affects lighting and color. It also included automatic masking controls, so DLSS 5 can be applied to objects individually, or perhaps like just background objects and not the actual character you're playing. It was, dare I say it, a good demo that showed some of the capabilities of DLSS 5 that were lost in the mix after the first announcement back in March, which was a much less tailored showcase that left way too much to the imagination. And perhaps it's because there has been so much negative news related to PC gaming lately, but this is a rare instance in 2026 where an Nvidia presentation left me cautiously optimistic for the future. In contrast to that, I know, I'm sorry, there's some other Nvidia news this week that's less optimistic. No, it's not that the RTX 50 Super launch is on hold again because of 3GB GDDR7 prices. We haven't been optimistic about that for a very long time. This is more about GPU prices in general, because per some pretty reliable rumors, Nvidia is once again increasing the price of the GPU kits they sell to add-in board partners. These kits include both the GPU and VRAM, and GDDR7 kit prices for RTX 5090s already went up back in May. But now they're increasing prices for all GDDR7 and GDDR6 kits, per reports from industry insiders relayed on the BenchLife forums. If true, and WCCF thinks it's 85% likely, GPU prices will definitely go up in the second half of the year, as vendors are usually not keen on eating the cost of higher-priced materials. It's a frustrating development given all the other headwinds PC building has faced this year, particularly PC gaming, but if you are on the fence about an upcoming GPU purchase, it might be a good idea to place that order sooner rather than later. Speaking of sooner rather than later, these tech briefs aren't going to condense themselves, so let's proceed. Last week, there was a hubbub about LG monitors and TVs, which was greatly amplified by a Gamers Nexus expose because simply plugging in an LG display to a Windows PC caused the Windows Update installation of LG's Monitor App Installer, which would then start prompting you to install McAfee antivirus. And who doesn't love automatically installed malware that causes ad pop-ups? LG's app was only able to do this because Microsoft let it, however, and after community backlash and a Twitter chain furthered by Tim Sweeney of all people, Microsoft's Windows League caught wind of it, and they pressured LG to disable the pop-up at the very least. And Microsoft says they'll be working to not let this happen in the future, if you believe them. LG, for their part, issued a damage control statement that eschewed any responsibility for their actions, as is typical, stating, "The LG Monitor App Installer does not access, collect, or transmit any customer personal data." Sure, LG, the installer doesn't, but what about the apps that installer installs? Oh, and yes, I have an LG monitor, and they got me too. A reminder, never connect your TV to the internet. While our general stance on Intel remains fluid, we are generally glad when they stick around to compete with the likes of AMD and Nvidia, though all three are too obsessed with AI at the moment. But here's some positive Intel news. They're all ahead full for 14A production, with high volume ramp-up planned for 2028 per their recent financial report. This also means further competition for TSMC, which is good, and follows last week's news that Intel will be producing 80 to 90% of Nova Lake desktop CPUs on their own 18A process. Intel also reported a 25% increase in year-over-year sales, which is also a good thing, as developing their fabrication nodes costs a lot of money, and shakier sales reports might impact their decision to keep up that spending. Rounding things out with some less impactful news, the RAM shortage has had a variety of impacts on the world, and RAM theft suddenly becoming a thing is one of them, as I brought up last week. And now in China, 2 men were arrested, also last week, after a daring heist that netted them 16 memory modules stolen between May 15th and May 31st from esports hotels in Shaihizi, which I'm intentionally mispronouncing, okay? If your first reaction is to ask what an esports hotel is, that was mine too, but you can rent a room with a full gaming setup in China, apparently Ready Player One style. The thieves must have stayed too long gaming on their last job before making a break for it though, as the cops apprehended them, and now they're in criminal detention, probably wondering if the $1,840-ish they made from selling the RAM kits was worth it. At least they sold that hot RAM quickly rather than leaving it lying around though, particularly if they are pet owners, as Redditor Head of State 8 learned recently when their 96GB Crucial RAM kit was used as a chew toy by their dog. Seemingly a French bulldog or some variety of bulldog as far as I can tell, the most devious of pups and always willing to take a bite or two out of their owner's most prized possessions. That's a Crucial kit as well, so it's already a limited edition. But hopefully this post earned enough internet points to pay for a replacement set. Looks like that kit only costs about $1,200 at the moment. At least the culprit looks somewhat remorseful. But there you have it guys, tech news for the weekend. If you liked it, click that like button or leave me a comment down below. While you're down there, all of the articles I talked about today are linked in the video's description if you're interested in reading more. And you can check out my store at paulshardware.net for high quality merchandise, t-shirts, hoodies, beer sets, and more. Subscribing to my channel is always a good call too. Thanks again everyone, and we'll see you next week.